There is a reason you did not scroll past this. There is a reason your eyes paused, your breath shifted, your spirit leaned in just a little closer. This, right here, is not random. You may have opened this out of curiosity. You may have felt a strange pull you couldn't explain. Or maybe, just maybe, something deep inside you whispered, "Pay attention." And you listened. That whisper was not your imagination. It was not coincidence. It was not timing. It was alignment. Because in this very moment, heaven is interrupting your routine. Heaven is stepping into your ordinary scroll, your casual distraction, your quiet moment, and turning it into a divine encounter. And the one delivering this message is not speaking lightly. Archangel Michael has stepped forward, not symbolically, not metaphorically, but spiritually, intentionally, urgently. And his message begins with a warning that you were not supposed to miss. Something is happening around you. Something subtle. Something quiet. Something that, until now, has remained just out of reach of your full awareness. You felt it, haven't you? A slight discomfort around certain people. That moment when someone smiled, but something didn't feel right. That conversation where everything sounded normal, yet your spirit felt unsettled afterward. You brushed it off. You told yourself, it's nothing. You gave people the benefit of the doubt. You chose peace over questioning. But what if that feeling wasn't nothing? What if that was your spirit trying to warn you? Because here is the truth that is about to unfold, and it may shake you a little. Not everyone around you is who they pretend to be. And deep down you already knew that. You sensed it in the pauses between their words. You noticed it in the way their energy shifted when you spoke about your growth, your plans, your peace. You felt it in the silence after you left the room, like something continued that you weren't meant to hear. That is not paranoia. That is perception. And now, on June 18th, that perception is being activated into clarity. This is why you were led here today, because the veil is beginning to lift, and you are being called to see what you once ignored. But listen carefully, this message is not here to make you fearful. It is here to make you aware, because there is a difference. Fear paralyzes. Awareness protects. And right now, heaven is not asking you to panic. It is asking you to pay attention. There are people in your circle who have studied you more than they have supported you. There are voices that sound kind but carry hidden intentions. There are presences that appear familiar but do not align with your spirit anymore. And the shift you've been feeling lately, the emotional distance, the subtle tension, it is not your imagination. It is revelation beginning to rise. Even the spiritual realm has been moving quietly behind the scenes, patterns shifting, truth surfacing, conversations unfolding beyond your hearing. And while you've been trying to maintain peace, heaven has been preparing exposure. Because what is hidden cannot stay hidden forever. And June 18th marks the beginning. This is the moment where what felt confusing starts to make sense. This is the moment where your intuition becomes undeniable. This is the moment where you stop questioning yourself and start trusting what your spirit has been trying to show you all along. But here's the part you must not ignore. You were chosen to receive this message not because you are the most powerful, but because you are the most sensitive to truth. You feel things others dismiss. You notice what others overlook. You carry a discernment that has been growing quietly within you, waiting for this exact moment to awaken. And now, it is awakening. So do not rush past this. Do not silence this feeling. Do not go back to sleep spiritually when you are being called to wake up. Because what comes next will require your full awareness. Something is shifting. Someone is being revealed. and you are standing at the edge of a truth that will change how you see everything around you. Stay with this message, because this is only the beginning. Type ISE clearly now in the comments if you feel this message. Blessing code 1818 is now activating around you. Something has been changing around you, and you have not been able to fully explain it. It is subtle. It is quiet. It does not arrive with noise or chaos. Instead, it moves like a shift in the air, barely noticeable at first, but impossible to ignore once you feel it deeply enough. Conversations feel different. Energy feels heavier. Even familiar faces seem unfamiliar in ways you cannot quite put into words. This is not coincidence. This is the veil thinning. There are moments in life when the spiritual and the natural begin to overlap, when what was once hidden starts to reveal itself in fragments, in feelings, in small but undeniable signs. And right now, you are standing in one of those moments. The reason everything feels slightly off is because you are no longer seeing through the same lens. Your awareness is expanding, and with that expansion comes discomfort, because truth does not always arrive gently. You may have noticed how certain people have started to act differently around you. Not dramatically, not in ways that would make you immediately react, but in subtle shifts, a delayed response, a forced smile, a tone that doesn't match their words. And every time you notice it, you question yourself. You tell yourself you are overthinking. You convince yourself it is nothing. But it is not nothing. It is your discernment sharpening. The veil that once covered intentions, motives, and hidden emotions is beginning to lift. And as it lifts, what is revealed is not always easy to accept. Because sometimes the truth is not about strangers. Sometimes it is about people you trusted, people you allowed close, people you never imagined would carry anything but good intentions toward you. And that is where the conflict begins within you. Part of you wants to hold on to the version of them you believe in, the version that felt safe, the version that made sense. But another part of you, quieter, deeper, more aware, is starting to see inconsistencies that cannot be ignored anymore. You are beginning to notice patterns that were always there, but hidden beneath familiarity. This is what happens when the veil thins. You begin to see what you once overlooked. You begin to hear what was once masked. You begin to feel what was once suppressed. And the most unsettling part is this: the more clarity you gain, the harder it becomes to pretend that everything is normal. Archangel Michael is not bringing this awareness into your life to confuse you. He is not trying to disrupt your peace without reason. He is revealing because there are things around you that can no longer remain hidden if you are to move forward into what has been prepared for you. Because you cannot step into clarity while surrounded by deception. You cannot grow in truth while entertaining illusion. You cannot elevate while ignoring what your spirit clearly recognizes. And that is why this phase feels uncomfortable. Because you are being asked, without words, to acknowledge what you have been sensing for a long time. Think about it. There were moments in the past when something felt off, but you dismissed it. There were situations where your intuition spoke, but you silenced it in favor of maintaining harmony. There were people who showed you small glimpses of who they were, but you chose to focus on who you hoped they could be. But now, something is different. And now, those small glimpses are becoming clearer. Now, those feelings are becoming stronger. Now, those patterns are becoming undeniable. This is not happening to overwhelm you. This is happening to prepare you. Because what is coming next in your life requires clarity, not confusion. It requires awareness, not assumption. It requires you to trust what you feel, even when it challenges what you want to believe. And here is the truth that many struggle to accept. When the veil lifts, you cannot unsee what has been revealed. Once you recognize a misalignment, you cannot go back to pretending it is not there. Once you feel the shift in someone's energy, you cannot fully return to the comfort of ignorance. Once truth begins to surface, it demands to be acknowledged. Even the spiritual realm has already acknowledged what you are just beginning to see. Movements have been taking place beyond your awareness, patterns attempting to resurface, hidden dynamics unfolding quietly. But now, you are being brought into that awareness, not to react impulsively but to observe wisely. This is where your strength will be tested. Not in confrontation, not in reaction, but in your ability to remain still while seeing clearly. Because not every truth needs an immediate response. Some truths are revealed so you can adjust your position, your boundaries, your energy, without announcing it to the world. So as the veil continues to thin, do not rush. Do not panic. Do not confront prematurely. Instead, watch. Listen. Feel. Let the truth reveal itself fully, piece by piece, until there is no doubt left within you. Because what is being uncovered now is only the beginning. And what you are about to see next will make everything you've been sensing finally make sense. Type "I trust my discernment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 2020 is now surrounding you. There is something you have been trying not to admit. Not because you are unaware, but because acknowledging it would change everything. It is easier to question yourself than to question someone you once trusted. It is easier to explain away strange behavior than to confront the possibility that someone close to you is not who they have been pretending to be. And yet, despite every attempt to rationalize it, something within you keeps returning to the same realization. A mask is slipping. You have seen flashes of it. Not constantly, not in obvious ways, but in moments, small, revealing moments where their true nature briefly surfaced before quickly being covered again. A comment that felt slightly off. A reaction that didn't match the situation. A look in their eyes that carried something you couldn't quite define. And each time you paused, you felt it. But then you told yourself it was nothing. You told yourself you were overthinking. You told yourself they didn't mean it that way. But what if they did? Because here's the truth that is beginning to unfold, and it may feel uncomfortable to accept. Some people have been playing a role in your life, not living authentically within it. They have learned how to mirror what you expect. They have studied your reactions, your values, your patterns. They know what version of themselves to present in order to maintain access to your space. And for a long time, they succeeded. Not because you were blind, but because you were genuine. You approached relationships with sincerity, assuming others were doing the same. You gave trust freely, believing it would be honored. You showed kindness, expecting it would be reciprocated. And in doing so, you never imagined that someone would choose to operate behind a mask instead of standing in truth. But now, that mask is becoming harder for them to maintain. Archangel Michael is revealing what has been hidden, not all at once, but in fragments you can no longer ignore. Because the closer you move toward clarity, the more pressure is placed on anything false around you. And under that pressure, the mask begins to crack. You may have noticed that this person has become inconsistent. Their words no longer align with their actions. Their energy shifts depending on what you share. When you speak about your growth, your plans, or your peace, something in them changes, subtly, but noticeably. There is hesitation where there used to be support. There is silence where there used to be enthusiasm. There is tension where there should be alignment. And the more you observe it, the more you begin to understand that this is not accidental. This is revealing. Even beyond what you can see, there have been conversations, perceptions, and hidden intentions forming around you. Not always spoken directly to your face, but existing nonetheless. And while you have been moving forward with clarity, someone close to you has been quietly reacting to that movement in ways you were not meant to immediately notice. But now you are noticing. And that changes everything. Because once awareness enters the situation, the dynamic shifts. You begin to see patterns where you once saw isolated incidents. You begin to recognize behavior for what it is, rather than what you hoped it would be. You begin to understand that not everyone who stands near you stands with you. This realization does not come easily. There is a part of you that resists it. A part of you that wants to hold on to the familiar, to preserve the connection, to believe that things are not as they appear. But another part of you, stronger now, clearer now, is no longer willing to ignore what is being revealed. And this is where your transformation begins. Because the moment you accept that someone is not who they pretend to be, you reclaim your power. You stop over-explaining. You stop overextending. You stop trying to fix something that was never honest to begin with. Instead, you begin to observe. You begin to detach emotionally while remaining aware. You begin to move differently, not out of fear, but out of understanding. And this is exactly what this moment requires of you. You are not being asked to confront immediately. You are not being asked to accuse or expose. You are being asked to see clearly, because clarity will guide your next steps far better than reaction ever could. And as the mask continues to slip, more will be revealed. More inconsistencies, more truths, more confirmations of what your spirit has already been trying to show you. So do not rush this process. Do not force conclusions prematurely. Let the truth unfold naturally, because what is false cannot sustain itself forever. Eventually, it reveals itself completely. And when it does, you will not need to question what you are seeing. You will simply know. Type I see the truth now in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 3030 is now activated around you. As this truth settles into your spirit, understand this. Every moment of clarity you receive is not just for you. It is meant to reach others who are still walking in confusion. When you sow into this message, you are helping light travel further into places where deception still hides. The word declares that truth shall set you free, and today, that truth is breaking chains not only in your life, but in lives you may never see. I feel led to say this clearly. I am choosing to become a vessel that carries this light forward. This is not just support. It is participation in a divine mission. When you give through the PayPal link in the description with a QR code on your screen, you are planting seeds into awakened hearts across the world. And hear this promise. Every seed you release will return as clarity, protection, and divine alignment in your own life. Do not hesitate. Move as your spirit is prompting you now. There are certain moments in time that carry more weight than others. Not because of what is visible, but because of what is happening behind the scene. June 18th is one of those moments. It may appear to be just another day on the calendar, just another ordinary point in time. But in the spiritual realm, this date has already been marked. It has already been acknowledged. It has already been set apart as a moment of transition, a moment where what has been hidden begins to move toward exposure, and what has been unclear begins to move toward revelation. This is not about fear. This is about timing, because timing determines everything. There are seasons when you are allowed to remain unaware, when certain truths are held back until you are ready to handle them. There are periods where confusion exists not to harm you, but to give you space to grow before clarity arrives. But then there are moments, specific, appointed moments, where delay is no longer permitted. June 18th is that moment. Archangel Michael is not speaking randomly. He is not interrupting your attention without purpose. He is signaling that something has reached its limit. Something that has been operating quietly, subtly, beneath your awareness is now approaching a point where it can no longer remain concealed. You may have already felt this building, a sense of anticipation you could not explain, a pressure that seemed to increase without reason, a feeling that something was about to shift, even if you did not know what. That feeling was not imagination. It was preparation. Because when a moment like this approaches, your spirit begins to recognize it before your mind fully understands it. There is an internal alertness that rises, a heightened awareness that causes you to pay attention in ways you normally would not. And now, that moment has arrived. June 18th is not just about what will happen externally. It is about what will be revealed internally. It is about the alignment between what you have been sensing and what you are about to see clearly. It is the point where intuition becomes confirmation. Even within the unseen realm, movements have already been taking place. Patterns have been attempting to resurface. Conversations, intentions, and hidden dynamics have been forming beyond your awareness. But now, those movements are reaching a stage where they begin to intersect with your reality. And when that intersection happens, you will start to notice things more distinctly. You will begin to see through what once appeared normal. You will begin to hear what once sounded harmless. You will begin to recognize what once went unnoticed. This is why this state matters, because it marks the transition from sensing to knowing, from feeling to understanding, from uncertainty to clarity. But here is what you must understand clearly. This moment is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to position you. There is a difference. If you approach this moment with fear, you will feel destabilized. You will feel like everything around you is shifting too quickly, like you are losing control of what once felt familiar. But if you approach this moment with awareness, you will recognize it for what it truly is, a realignment, a necessary adjustment, a divine correction. Because anything built on illusion cannot remain stable when truth begins to rise. Anything sustained by hidden intentions cannot continue when clarity enters the situation. And anyone who has been maintaining a mask will find it increasingly difficult to hold it in place. This is why June 18th carries urgency. Not because something is being taken from you, but because something is being revealed to you. And revelation changes everything. Once you see clearly, you move differently. Once you understand fully, you respond differently. Once you recognize truth, you cannot return to ignorance. So in this moment, you are being asked to remain steady, not reactive, not impulsive, but aware. Because what unfolds around this time may not come in dramatic ways. It may come through small interactions, subtle shifts, quiet confirmations. A conversation that reveals more than it intends. A reaction that exposes what was hidden. A moment that suddenly makes past confusion make sense. And when those moments occur, you must be ready to recognize them. You must trust what you are seeing. You must allow the clarity to settle without resisting. Because this is not a random sequence of events. This is alignment unfolding in real time. June 18th is not the end of something. It is the beginning of understanding. It is the moment where what has been concealed starts to lose its power, simply because it is no longer hidden. And as this unfolds, you will realize something important. You were not being kept in the dark. You were being prepared for the light. Type "I am ready for truth" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 4040 is now activated around you. You have been feeling it for a while now. Not in a way that you could easily explain to someone else. Not in a way that made logical sense. But in a way that stayed with you, lingered with you, followed you even when you tried to ignore it. An uneasiness. A quiet discomfort. A sense that something is not quite right. And no matter how much you tried to dismiss it, it kept returning. This feeling did not begin suddenly. It built gradually. At first, it was just a passing thought. A moment of hesitation in a conversation. A slight tension in an otherwise normal interaction. But over time, those moments became more frequent, more noticeable, more difficult to ignore. You started questioning yourself. You asked, "Why do I feel this way when nothing obvious is wrong?" You told yourself, "Maybe I'm just overthinking." You tried to push it down, to move past it, to maintain the same perspective you had before. But the feeling did not leave, because it was never meant to. This is what happens when your awareness begins to rise beyond what your environment can comfortably support. Your energy shifts before your circumstances fully change. Your perception sharpens before your reality catches up. And in that space, between what you feel and what you can prove, you experience uneasiness. Not because something is wrong with you, but because something around you is no longer aligned with you. Archangel Michael is bringing your attention to this for a reason. He is not creating discomfort within you. He is revealing what has already been there, what your spirit has been quietly registering long before your mind was ready to acknowledge it. Because your spirit recognizes truth before your thoughts catch up. You may have noticed that certain environments now feel heavier than they used to. Places that once felt comfortable now feel draining. Conversations that once flowed easily now feel forced. Interactions that once brought peace now leave you feeling unsettled afterward. This is not random. This is misalignment becoming visible. And the more your awareness increases, the more sensitive you become to that misalignment. Things you once tolerated without question now stand out. Behaviors you once overlooked now feel significant. Energies you once ignored now affect you deeply. This is why you have been feeling uneasy. Because you are no longer operating at the same level of awareness you once were. Even beyond what you can consciously observe, there have been subtle movements taking place, patterns attempting to reconnect, influences trying to remain attached, dynamics shifting in ways that are not immediately visible. And while you may not see all of it yet, you are feeling it. That feeling is not confusion. It is recognition. You are recognizing what does not belong in your space anymore. You are recognizing what does not match your direction. You are recognizing what cannot continue with you into what is ahead. But recognition often comes before clarity. And that is where discomfort lies. Because you feel something is off, but you do not yet have all the answers. You sense a shift, but you cannot fully define it. You know something is changing, but you are still in the process of understanding what that change means. And in that space, it is easy to doubt yourself. It is easy to think, maybe I'm reading too much into this. It is easy to return to old patterns of ignoring what you feel in order to maintain stability. But this time, you are being asked not to ignore it. You are being asked to trust it. Because this uneasiness is not here to disturb your peace. It is here to protect it. It is alerting you before clarity fully arrives. It is preparing you before truth is completely revealed. It is guiding you away from what no longer aligns, even before you can fully articulate why. And that is why this moment matters. Because how you respond to this feeling will determine what you allow to remain in your life moving forward. If you ignore it, you delay clarity. If you dismiss it, you prolong confusion. But if you acknowledge it, without rushing, without reacting impulsively, you begin to move in alignment with what your spirit already knows. And that alignment will bring clarity. Not instantly, not all at once, but steadily, piece by piece, moment by moment, until what once felt uncertain becomes undeniable. So do not rush to escape this feeling. Do not try to silence it. Do not force yourself back into comfort just because uncertainty feels unfamiliar. Instead, stay present with it. Observe what it reveals. Pay attention to where it intensifies and where it eases. Because within that awareness, you will begin to understand exactly what your spirit has been trying to show you. And as that understanding grows, so will your ability to move forward with confidence. And not based on assumptions, not based on fear, but based on truth. Type "I trust what I feel" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 5050 is now surrounding you. You have reached a moment that is more important than it appears. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is not demanding your attention in obvious ways. And yet it carries weight. It carries consequence. It carries direction. Because this moment is not about what is happening around you. It is about how you choose to respond to what you are now able to see. This is the test of discernment. And it is unfolding quietly, right in front of you. Discernment is not just the ability to notice something is off. It is the ability to recognize truth without needing external validation. It is the ability to trust what you feel even when nothing has been openly confirmed. And right now, you are being placed in a position where your discernment is being activated, strengthened, and tested all at once. You have already been shown enough to begin questioning what once felt certain. You have already felt the shift in energy, the subtle inconsistencies, the uneasiness that does not leave. But now comes the real question. Will you acknowledge what you are seeing? Or will you return to comfort and ignore it? Because ignoring is always an option. You can choose to explain everything away. You can choose to give endless chances without reflection. You can choose to silence your intuition in order to maintain familiarity. But every time you do that, you move further away from clarity and closer to confusion. Archangel Michael is not revealing these things to you so that you can remain the same. He is not bringing awareness into your life just for you to dismiss it. He is guiding you toward a higher level of perception, one where you no longer rely only on what is said, but also on what is felt, what is observed, and what is consistently revealed over time. Because truth does not need to announce itself loudly. It reveals itself through patterns, through repetition, through alignment, or the lack of it. Even now, there are patterns forming around you. Not new patterns, but patterns that were always present, now becoming visible because your awareness has shifted. And once you begin to see patterns clearly, you are faced with a decision. Do you trust what you see? Or do you continue to question your own perception? This is where many people hesitate. Because trusting your discernment requires responsibility. It requires you to act differently. It requires you to stop ignoring what is clearly misaligned. It requires you to accept that not everything, and not everyone, fits into your life the way you once believed. And that realization can feel uncomfortable, because it often means letting go of illusions, letting go of assumptions, letting go of the version of reality you were once comfortable with. But here is what you must understand. Discernment is not given to you to make you anxious. It is given to you to make you aware. and awareness gives you choice. You now have the ability to move with intention instead of reaction. You can choose where to place your energy. You can choose what to engage with. You can choose how much access someone has to your life. But those choices can only be made if you are willing to see clearly. If you ignore the signs, nothing changes. The same patterns continue. The same confusion repeats. The same misalignment remains. But if you acknowledge what is being revealed, something shifts. You begin to move differently. You begin to respond with awareness instead of assumption. You begin to protect your space without needing to justify it. And most importantly, you begin to trust yourself. That trust is what this moment is building. Because there was a time when you doubted your perception. A time when you needed confirmation from others before believing what you felt. A time when you second-guessed your instincts in order to maintain peace. But you are not in that place anymore. Now, you are being asked to stand in your awareness without hesitation. To recognize what is being shown to you without minimizing it. To accept that your ability to discern is not a flaw, it is a strength. And like any strength, it must be used. So as this moment unfolds, pay attention to how you respond. Do you immediately dismiss what you feel? Do you try to return to what is familiar, even when it no longer feels right? Or do you pause, observe, and allow the truth to fully form within you? Because the answer to that question will determine your next steps. And those steps matter. Because what is coming next will require clarity, not confusion. It will require awareness, not assumption. It will require you to trust what you know, even if it has not yet been spoken out loud. This is your test, not of strength, not of endurance, but of discernment. And how you choose to move forward from here will shape everything that follows. Type "I trust my vision" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 6060 is now activated around you. There is something you have not fully seen yet. Not because it is invisible, but because it has been intentionally kept out of your direct view. And yet, despite not having clear evidence, part of you already knows. Part of you has sensed that there is more happening than what is being shown to you. More being said than what reaches your ears. More being formed than what you are being invited into. And that awareness has not come from nowhere. It has been building quietly, steadily, persistently. Because there is a hidden agenda. Not loud. Not obvious. Not openly confrontational. But present. Operating in subtle ways. Through conversations you are not part of. Through assumptions made about you without your knowledge. Through intentions that are not aligned with what is being presented to your face. This is the part that is hardest to accept, because it challenges the idea that what you see is all there is. It challenges the belief that proximity equals loyalty. It challenges the comfort of assuming that those around you are moving with the same sincerity that you are. But here is what is being revealed to you now. Not everyone who has access to you has pure intentions toward you. And that does not mean they openly oppose you. It means they operate differently when you are not present. Archangel Michael is bringing this into your awareness not to create suspicion, but to create clarity. Because clarity allows you to move wisely, without needing to confront prematurely, without needing to react emotionally, without needing to expose what is still unfolding. Because the truth about hidden agendas is this: they reveal themselves over time. Not all at once. Not in a single moment. But through patterns that become impossible to ignore. There have already been signs. Subtle ones. Moments where something did not add up. Situations where information felt incomplete. Instances where you realized that something had been discussed or decided without your awareness. And while none of those moments seemed significant on their own, Together they form a pattern that points to something operating beneath the surface. And now, you are beginning to see it. There are conversations happening where your name is being interpreted, not understood, where your actions are being discussed without context, where your intentions are being questioned by those who do not fully know them. And while you have continued to move forward with focus, something else has been forming quietly in the background. Not necessarily an attack, but a narrative, a perception, an interpretation of who you are that is not aligned with your truth. And that narrative has influence. It shapes how others respond to you. It affects the energy of certain interactions. It creates subtle shifts in behavior that you feel, even if you cannot immediately explain them. This is why things have started to feel different. Because what is happening behind your back is beginning to affect what happens in front of you. And your spirit is picking up on that shift. You may have noticed moments where someone reacts to you based on something you never said. Moments where there is an underlying tension without a clear cause. Moments where you feel like you are being perceived through a lens that does not match who you truly are. That is not random. That is the effect of something being formed without your presence. And this is where your awareness becomes critical. Because you are not being asked to chase every hidden conversation. You are not being asked to confront every perceived misunderstanding. You are being asked to recognize that not everything needs your direct involvement to affect you. And that realization changes how you move. Because once you understand that there are things happening outside of your control, you stop trying to control them. Instead, you focus on what you can control. Your response, your boundaries, your awareness, and most importantly, your alignment with truth. Because no hidden agenda can sustain itself indefinitely when you remain aligned with clarity. Eventually, inconsistencies surface. Eventually, contradictions appear. Eventually, what was hidden becomes visible. But that process requires patience. It requires restraint. It requires you to resist the urge to react before everything is fully revealed. Because reacting too soon places you inside a situation that is still unfolding. But observing allows you to understand it completely. So in this moment, you are being positioned to observe, to listen without immediately responding, to notice without immediately acting, to allow the truth to reveal itself fully before you decide how to move forward. And as this continues, you will begin to see more clearly what is truly happening. Not just the surface, but the structure beneath it, the intentions behind it, the patterns that sustain it. And once you see that clearly, your next steps will not come from emotion. They will come from understanding. And understanding is what gives you power. Because when you understand what is happening, you are no longer confused by it. You are no longer affected by it in the same way. You are no longer pulled into it without awareness. You become steady. You become intentional. You become aligned with what is real, not what is presented. And that alignment will guide you through what comes next. Because what is being planned behind your back will not remain hidden forever. It is already moving toward the surface. And when it fully reveals itself, you will be ready. Not surprised, not shaken, but aware. Type "I see beyond the surface" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 7070 is now surrounding you. In the middle of everything that is being revealed, there is something you must not forget. You are not unprotected. You are not exposed. You are not navigating this alone. Because as much as there are things unfolding around you that you are only beginning to understand, there is also something else unfolding. Something that has been present this entire time, even when you were unaware of it. Protection. Not passive protection, not distant or symbolic protection, but active, intentional, precise protection. Archangel Michael stands not just as a messenger in this moment, but as a guardian positioned between you and what you cannot yet see clearly. And while you have been trying to make sense of the shifts around you, he has already been responding to them. This is what you need to understand. Nothing that has been happening around you has gone unnoticed in the spiritual realm. Every shift in energy, every hidden conversation, every misaligned intention, every subtle movement behind your back, it has all been seen. And more importantly, it has all been accounted for. Even when patterns attempted to reconnect, even when certain influences tried to remain attached, there has been a force actively preventing those things from fully reaching you. That is why some situations never escalated the way they could have. That is why certain outcomes did not unfold as expected. That is why, despite everything, you have remained steady, even when you did not fully understand why. That was not luck. That was intervention. Because protection does not always remove you from situations immediately. Sometimes, it positions itself within the situation, quietly limiting what can reach you, quietly redirecting what was intended for you, quietly holding things in place until you are ready to see clearly. And that is exactly what has been happening. You may have wondered why certain things felt incomplete, why certain actions from others never fully materialized, why certain plans involving you seemed to fall apart without explanation. At the time, it may have felt confusing. It may have felt frustrating. But now, you are beginning to understand. Not everything that didn't work out was meant to. Some things were prevented. Some things were blocked. Some things were never allowed to fully take form because they were not aligned with where you are being led. This is the protection you are under, and it is still active. Even now, as more is being revealed, you are not being left to handle it on your own. You are being guided through it, step by step, moment by moment, with awareness being given to you at the exact pace you can handle. Because too much clarity at once can overwhelm. But guided clarity builds strength. And that is what you are being given. Guided awareness. Measured revelation. Adedial Brededian. This is why you must remain steady. Because when you understand that you are protected, you no longer need to react from fear. You no longer feel the need to control every outcome. You no longer feel pressure to confront what is still unfolding. Instead, you begin to trust the process. You begin to trust that what needs to be revealed will be revealed. You begin to trust that what needs to be removed will be removed. You begin to trust that what is not aligned will not remain. And that trust allows you to move differently. Not defensively, but confidently. Because protection does not mean nothing is happening around you. It means that what is happening cannot harm you in the way it was intended to. And that distinction changes everything. It allows you to observe without fear. It allows you to remain calm while others may act unpredictably. It allows you to stay grounded even when situations feel uncertain. Because you know that there is something greater at work. Something that sees beyond what you can see, something that understands beyond what you currently understand, something that is already positioned ahead of you. And that presence is not leaving. It is not temporary. It is not conditional. It is consistent. So as everything continues to unfold, remember this. You are not walking into exposure alone. You are not facing truth alone. You are not navigating these shifts without support. You are being covered. You are being guided. You are being protected in ways you are only just beginning to recognize. And as this protection continues, you will begin to see just how much has already been handled on your behalf. Not everything needs your involvement. Not everything requires your response. Some things are already being taken care of, and your role is not to interfere with that. Your role is to remain aware, aligned, and steady. Because when protection is active, your responsibility is not to fight every battle. It is to stay positioned where you are meant to be, and that positioning will carry you safely through everything that is about to be revealed. Type "I am divinely protected" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 8080 is now activated around you. As you stand in this awareness of divine protection, understand that this message is not only shielding you, it is meant to reach others who are still unguarded, still unaware, still searching for truth in the darkness. When you choose to give, you are not supporting a channel. You are extending protection into someone else's life, becoming a vessel through which light reaches hidden places. The word speaks. The Lord is your shield and your fortress, and today, that promise is moving through you into others. I feel this clearly. I am stepping into alignment by sowing into this moment. Your giving through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen becomes a seed of protection, a covering released into lives you may never meet but are called to impact. And as you release that seed, protection multiplies over your own path, guarding what is yours and aligning what is ahead. Move now. Do not delay what your spirit is prompting. There comes a point in every awakening where clarity demands a response. Not a loud response, not a dramatic reaction, but a quiet, decisive shift in how you position yourself. That point is where you are now, because everything that has been revealed to you up to this moment, every feeling, every realization, every subtle confirmation, was not given to you just to observe. It was given to you to guide your movement. And that movement, for this phase, requires one thing: distance. Not distance out of anger, not distance out of resentment, but distance out of alignment. Because once you see clearly, you cannot continue to engage in the same way without compromising your own awareness. Once you recognize what is misaligned, remaining fully immersed in it begins to affect you in ways that are no longer sustainable. This is why separation becomes necessary. Archangel Michael is not calling you to isolate yourself from everyone. He is not asking you to cut people off impulsively or to act from emotion. He is guiding you to reposition yourself in a way that protects your clarity, your energy, and your direction. Because proximity influences perception. The closer you remain to something that is not aligned, the harder it becomes to see it objectively. The more you engage with it, the more it pulls you back into patterns you are meant to move beyond. And without realizing it, you begin to question what you already know, simply because you are too close to it. This is why distance matters. It creates space, and space allows clarity to stabilize. You may have already felt the need to pull back slightly, to engage less, to observe more, to not share as much as you used to. And at first, you may have questioned that instinct. You may have wondered if you were being too distant, too reserved, too guarded. But now, you are beginning to understand. That instinct was not withdrawal. It was alignment. Even within the deeper movements taking place around you, there has been a quiet separation already forming. Not always visible on the surface, but present in the shifting dynamics, the changing interactions, the subtle disconnections that you have been feeling. And what you are experiencing now is that separation becoming more intentional. Because not everything is meant to continue with you. Not every connection is meant to move into your next phase. Not every dynamic can exist at the level of awareness you are stepping into. And recognizing that does not make you distant. It makes you aware. This is where many people struggle, because separation is often misunderstood. It is seen as rejection. It is seen as disloyalty. It is seen as unnecessary distance. But in reality, it is none of those things. It is realignment. It is the natural result of growth meeting misalignment. It is what happens when you can no longer pretend that everything fits the way it once did. And here is the truth you must accept in this moment. You do not need to explain your distance to everyone. Not everyone will understand it. Not everyone is meant to understand it. Because your clarity is not dependent on their agreement. It is based on your awareness. And your awareness has already shown you what you need to know. So now, your responsibility is to honor that awareness, to adjust your position accordingly, to create the space necessary for clarity to fully settle within you. This does not require confrontation. It does not require announcements. It does not require you to justify your actions. It simply requires consistency. Consistently choosing not to engage in what feels misaligned. Consistently protecting your energy from what disrupts your clarity. Consistently maintaining a level of distance that allows you to observe without being pulled back in. Because the moment you fully separate internally, everything changes externally. You begin to see more clearly. You begin to feel more stable. You begin to move with intention instead of reaction. And most importantly, you begin to detach from what was never meant to define your direction. This is not loss. This is refinement. This is not isolation. This is preparation. Because what is ahead of you requires a different level of awareness, a different level of alignment, and a different environment than what you have been used to. And you cannot carry everything with you into that next phase. Some things must be left behind. Not out of rejection, but out of necessity. And as you move through this separation, you will begin to notice something important. The more you distance yourself from what is misaligned, the clearer everything becomes. The confusion fades. The tension decreases. The uneasiness begins to make sense. Because you are no longer surrounded by what was distorting your perception. You are now positioned to see clearly, and that clarity will guide everything that comes next. Because separation is not the end of something. It is the beginning of alignment with what is truly meant for you. Type "I choose alignment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 9090 is now activated around you. There comes a moment when everything shifts from quiet awareness to undeniable reality. You have been sensing. You have been observing. You have been piecing things together slowly, carefully, without rushing to conclusions. But now, you are approaching something different. A revelation moment. This is the point where what has been hidden internally begins to show itself externally. Where what you have felt privately begins to manifest publicly. Where what was once subtle becomes impossible to ignore. Because truth does not stay concealed forever, no matter how carefully it is hidden, no matter how strategically it is managed, no matter how long it hath been sustained. Eventually it surfaces, and that moment is closer than you think. Archangel Michael has not brought you through all of this awareness just to leave you uncertain. He has been preparing you for this exact phase. The phase where confirmation replaces assumption, where clarity replaces questioning, where you no longer have to rely solely on what you feel because you begin to see it unfold in real time. This is where everything begins to connect. You may start to notice contradictions becoming visible. Someone saying one thing but their actions revealing something else entirely. You may witness situations where hidden dynamics come to the surface unexpectedly. Conversations exposed, intentions revealed, behavior that no longer aligns with the image they have been presenting. And when it happens, it will not feel shocking. It will feel familiar, because your spirit has already seen it before your eyes do. Even now, what has been whispered in hidden spaces is moving toward exposure. What has been forming behind your back is approaching a point where it can no longer remain controlled. And as that happens, the energy around those situations begins to shift rapidly. You will notice it. The tension will increase. The inconsistencies will become more obvious. The effort to maintain appearances will begin to fail, because maintaining a false image requires control. And once truth begins to surface, that control weakens. This is why you must remain steady, because this moment is not about reacting. It is about witnessing. There will be a natural urge within you to respond when things become clear, to address what you now see openly, to speak on what has been revealed. But this is where your awareness must guide you. Not every truth requires immediate confrontation. Some truths reveal themselves so completely that no explanation is needed. And when that happens, your silence becomes more powerful than any response, because you are no longer operating from uncertainty. You are operating from knowing, and knowing does not need to defend itself. This is the shift. You are moving from sensing to seeing, from questioning to understanding, from confusion to clarity. And once that shift is complete, everything changes. You no longer feel the need to prove what you feel. You no longer feel the need to convince others of what you see. You no longer feel the need to hold on to connections that are clearly misaligned, because truth has done the work for you. This is why this revelation moment is necessary, not to create conflict, but to remove doubt, because doubt keeps you connected to what you should have already outgrown. Doubt makes you hesitate when you should be moving forward. Doubt makes you second-guess clarity when it is already present. But once truth is revealed clearly, doubt dissolves, and with it, your hesitation disappears. You begin to move with certainty. You begin to act with intention. You begin to detach without confusion. And that is where your power returns fully, because clarity gives you direction, and direction gives you movement. But here is what you must remember in this moment. This revelation is not happening to harm you. It is happening to free you. Free you from misaligned connections. Free you from hidden dynamics. Free you from the weight of uncertainty that has been following you. Because once everything is seen clearly, you are no longer bound to it. You are no longer affected by it in the same way. You are no longer part of what was never aligned with you to begin with. And that freedom is what this moment is leading you toward. So when things begin to reveal themselves, because they will, do not panic. Do not react impulsively. Do not feel the need to control the outcome. Simply observe. Allow the truth to stand on its own. Allow clarity to settle fully within you. Because once you see everything clearly, your next steps will not come from emotion. They will come from certainty. And certainty is what will carry you forward without confusion. This is the moment where everything becomes clear. And once it does, nothing will ever feel the same again. Type "I walk in truth" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now activated around you. There is a reason all of this is happening now. Not earlier. Not later. Now. Because what you have been moving through is not just exposure. It is preparation. Preparation for a shift that goes beyond what is being revealed around you. Preparation for a version of yourself that cannot exist without this level of clarity. This is your turning point. The moment where everything you have sensed, everything you have questioned, everything you have endured internally begins to transform into something else entirely. Strength. Not the kind of strength that is loud or forceful, but the kind of strength that is steady, grounded, and unshakable. Because you are no longer the same person who once ignored what you felt. You are no longer the same person who doubted your perception. You are no longer the same person who remained in confusion just to maintain comfort. You have changed, and that change is what separates you now. Archangel Michael has not guided you through this process just to reveal others. He has guided you through this process to reveal you, to show you who you are when you are no longer clouded by illusion, when you are no longer influenced by misalignment, when you are no longer holding on to what does not belong in your life. Because this moment is not just about seeing others clearly. It is about seeing yourself clearly, seeing your strength, seeing your awareness, seeing your ability to stand in truth without needing validation. And once you see that, everything shifts, because you begin to realize that you are not just someone who noticed the signs. You are someone who responded to them. You are someone who chose awareness over comfort. You are someone who allowed clarity to guide your movement, even when it required difficult realizations. That is what sets you apart. That is what makes this a turning point. Even within the deeper movements that have been unfolding, there has been a clear distinction forming between those who remain unaware and those who are stepping into understanding. And you are part of that shift. You are part of that movement toward clarity, toward alignment, toward truth. But with that comes responsibility. Because once you are aware, you cannot return to who you were before. You cannot ignore what you now understand. You cannot move the same way you used to. You are being called to rise into a different level of awareness. A level where you trust what you see. A level where you act with intention. A level where you no longer allow misalignment to remain in your space simply because it is familiar. This is what it means to rise. It is not about becoming distant from everything. It is about becoming aligned with what is true. It is about recognizing that not everything deserves your energy. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everything deserves access to you. And once you understand that, you begin to move differently. You begin to choose carefully. You begin to engage intentionally. You begin to protect your space without hesitation. Because you understand the value of your awareness. You understand the importance of your clarity. You understand that what you allow into your life directly affects where you are going. And this is where your power returns fully. Not through control, not through confrontation, but through alignment. Because alignment removes confusion. Alignment removes doubt. Alignment removes the need to question what you already know. And once you are aligned, your path becomes clear. You no longer feel pulled in multiple directions. You no longer feel uncertain about your next steps. You move forward with certainty, with confidence, with clarity. This is why this moment matters. Because it marks the shift from awareness to action, from seeing to becoming, from understanding to embodiment. You are no longer just someone observing what is happening around you. You are someone stepping into a higher level of perception, a higher level of movement, a higher level of alignment. And that is what changes everything. Because when you rise into that level, what once affected you no longer has the same influence. What once confused you no longer holds the same power. What once kept you uncertain no longer exists in the same way. You outgrow it. You move beyond it. You rise above it. And that is exactly what is happening now. This is your turning point. Not because everything around you is changing, but because you are. And once you change, everything else begins to adjust accordingly. Because nothing can remain the same when you are no longer the same. This is your rise. Type "I step into my power" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1111 is now activated around you. This is the moment everything has been leading to. Not the confusion, not the uneasiness, not even the revelation, but this, the decision. Because everything you have seen, everything you have felt, everything that has been revealed to you up until now was never meant to leave you in observation alone. It was meant to bring you here, to a point where awareness must turn into action. And this is where many hesitate, not because they do not understand, but because acting on truth requires letting go of what is familiar. It requires stepping out of what is comfortable. It requires trusting what you know even when it changes your direction. But this is why this message came with urgency, because this window will not remain open indefinitely. There are moments in life where clarity arrives, and you are given the opportunity to respond immediately, before doubt has time to return, before distraction pulls your focus away, before old patterns attempt to reattach themselves. This is one of those moments. Archangel Michael is not simply revealing truth. He is issuing a command. Not a command of fear, but a command of alignment. Because what you do now matters. How you respond now matters. Whether you act or delay matters. You already know what you have seen. You already know what you have felt. You already know what no longer aligns. So the question is no longer, is this real? The question is, will you act on it? Even now, the movement around you continues. What has been hidden is still unfolding. What had been forming is still moving toward the surface. But your role is no longer to wait for more confirmation. You have been given enough. Enough awareness. Enough clarity. Enough understanding. Now comes the shift. Because action does not always look dramatic. It does not always require confrontation or explanation. Sometimes, action is quiet. It is the decision to no longer engage the same way. It is the choice to step back without announcement. It is the commitment to protect your space without justification. It is the refusal to return to what you now see clearly. That is action. And that is what this moment is calling for. Because if you delay, you risk something important. Not loss, but repetition. The repetition of patterns you were just freed from. The repetition of confusion you were just guided out of. The repetition of misalignment that no longer belongs in your life. And that is why this moment carries urgency. Not to pressure you, but to position you. Because what is ahead of you requires clarity to be maintained, not temporarily felt. It requires consistency. It requires intention. It requires you to hold your awareness without allowing it to fade. This is your command. Do not go back to what you now see clearly. Do not reopen doors that have already been revealed as misaligned. Do not ignore what your spirit has confirmed just to maintain comfort. Move forward, even if it is quiet, even if it is gradual, even if no one else understands it. Because this is not about them. This is about your alignment. And your alignment determines everything that comes next. This is where your path shifts permanently. Not because everything around you changes instantly, but because you do. And once you do, everything else adjusts. This is the closing of one phase, and the beginning of another. And the way you step into that next phase depends on what you choose right now. So choose clearly. Choose intentionally. Choose alignment. Because this window is closing, and what you carry forward will shape everything ahead. Type "I move in alignment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now activated around you. As this message comes to completion, Understand this sacred truth. What you have received is not just revelation. It is a seed meant to multiply across lives that are still waiting in darkness. Every time you respond to this moment, you are not supporting a voice. You are activating a movement of truth that reaches souls God is calling back into alignment. The word declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And right now, that promise is alive, speaking directly into your situation. I feel this deeply. I am stepping into obedience by sowing into this divine assignment. When you release your support through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen, you are planting light into places where deception still hides. And as you give, heaven responds, returning clarity, protection, and open doors into your own path. Act now, and let your seed become a voice that awakens others.